Hello, welcome to the Modern Cave Woman. This one is for my ladies in business or ladies considering starting a business who is concerned about maintaining integrity with your sales and marketing efforts. And when I say this, I'm not talking about you personally not having integrity or doing anything wrong. What I'm talking about is making sure that your sales and marketing processes are integrity with your business that you want to build and with you. So maybe I could offer a little definition of integrity in this context that might help just kind of frame it for us. And that is integrity meaning that you say what you're going to do and you do it, that you always follow that. You say what you're going to do and you do what you say. And that is one of the best, fastest ways to really create trust with your potential customers, in my opinion. There might be other experts who have other ways, but if you think about in your own experience, certainly, even if you didn't like what they say and do, as long as you know that if someone says they're going to do something and they do it, you can trust that, right? You aren't going to feel confused or surprised or betrayed because they are being clear and honest about who they are and they always follow through. So that's really what I'm talking about when I'm talking about integrity, and especially with your business practices and your sales practices, that if in your sales you say you're going to do something, of course you're going to want to follow through, right? That's going to make your customers trust you. Potential customers are going to trust you. It's going to create a really good situation. So, I thought I would share a story of something that happened to me last week, or I shouldn't say to me, an event that I went through last week that both has really positive messaging and is also a cautionary tale about how there's kind of a slippery slope that sometimes we can get tempted into following or, even confused about something and end up kind of in a bad situation. So that's coming, but I'm going to try to put this in a little nutshell for you and give you a spoiler alert about where my story is going to go, just in case you don't really want to hang in there for the whole entire example. So, here's what I know about sales and marketing. It's as old as time, right? Sales is literally an old as time kind of thing where back in the day, maybe Mary would trade apples to Frank for a basket of bread every week, right? Frank is really good at making bread. He always has supplies for that. So that is what he does. And Mary has this great apple orchard and she's really good and enjoys picking her apples. And so they can trade that way. So they both have different things that they want or need. Yeah. So then, of course, we have money, which makes the transaction process so much easier because now Frank can just give Mary some, money for whatever apples he wants, and they don't have to discuss what's an even trade, which could vary, right? And Mary can take that money and she can either trade it back to him for more bread or she can go down the road for some eggs or whatever she needs, right? So this is where we kind of are now. Like we use money to get whatever we want, and it's a very convenient and consistent kind of system. So the only thing that's really changed is technology, right? So let me know if you're on board with that little definition. And here's what I know. Here's what I've learned after years of being in business. And, it really did start back in college with my business degree, even, is that if you're being open and honest about what your offer is and giving people the information that they need to make a decision, whether it's right or wrong for them, you can never lose. No matter what happens, you're both going to walk away feeling good about that exchange. It's a beautiful thing because you're going to walk away knowing that you gave them the offer, right? That you gave them the information they needed. You told them what the value is there and what the exchange was going to be. They're going to walk away feeling good because they're going to know that they made the right decision for themselves, that you gave them all the information they needed to make the correct decision. Whether they have bought from you or not, they're going to feel complete with that. And of course, even if they didn't buy from you, you're still going to feel good. Maybe you won't feel as good as if they bought from you, but you're still going to feel good knowing that you didn't cheat someone, right? You didn't confuse them and you did make the offer. You did try. And there's a lot of success in that in itself. So here's where things start to get complicated and where that integrity, which is automatically built into the system, starts to fall apart. Because another tale as old as time is there are always people who are dishonest and manipulative. And I think this is why sales kind of carries a bad connotation sometimes when teachers or experts will talk about not being salesy. They'll use this term salesy, and how people don't want to be sold to. And the underlying thing is that we are afraid that whoever is selling isn't being totally open and honest about what is actually going to transpire, like what we're actually going to get. And as the seller, if you're in business or thinking about business and thinking about selling and how difficult it might be, really that underlying feeling is that we want a potential client to trust us because we're trustworthy. We're putting offers out into the world to make it a better place, and that's our intention. So we of course want to let other people know that, here's the offer and here is the intent to make it a better place, and we want them to believe us, right? And so here's where we can circle back to that integrity is if we always deliver what we say we're going to deliver, everyone can trust us in that transaction, at least, right? And it also overflows into everything, right? Then they're going to trust our company, our brand, and us as a person, regardless of what the offer is. And you can probably see this in your own life if you have ever followed coaches online and purchased something from them and what you got was exactly what you wanted and needed, maybe even better. Maybe they threw in some bonuses and really surprised you and delighted you. And so going forward, if they ever put out another offer, you're more likely to trust that what they're selling is what you would receive. And you can make the decision for yourself based on what they're saying, whether it's actually something that you want. Just like anything, right? If you go to the store and you buy a can of soup that you've never tried before and you read the ingredients, you read the label, and it tells you what it is, right? It tells you what's in it, what it's going to taste like. And you go home and you open it and it's something completely different inside. Well, you're never going to buy that again. But if you open it up and it's exactly what it said on the label, plus you really like it because it's just exactly the right blend of spices or whatever, you're more likely to try different flavors of soup from that same company, right? Because you've had that good experience and you can trust that what's on the label is what's in the can. Is that a fair example? Let me know how you feel about that example. And so then where we kind of end up is that in our business, if we want to grow, we probably need to learn new technology, new tactics, and new tools to get more eyes on our offer so that more people can decide whether they want it or not. And this is where often we turn to other experts and teachers and mentors to tell us either things that they think we could use that would help or things that have worked for them. Now, here's the catch. They don't necessarily know your business and your values in a complete sense, right? They're going to have a slice of what you talk about, what you tell them, and what they ask, and you can elaborate on, right? So there's going to be a gap. The other thing is, some people do different tactics that work for them, but maybe not in the long term, right? They might make $1 million by exaggerating their offer or creating false urgency for people to buy or talking about things that are technically true, but then when their customers actually receive whatever it is, they find out that it's just not quite what they expected, right? So we've all heard of or experienced buyer's remorse, where it's this great offer and we think it's going to be great and we get it and we're like, oh, this is not what I ordered. Send it back, right? And what if you can't send it back? Well, then you don't trust that person and you don't trust anyone else related to that experience either, right? And so this is why I'm talking about this topic today, is because I feel like it's really important for all of us to really think about how we're doing business and how that affects other people who do similar business. So if you're a coach, if you've ever experienced being ripped off by a coach, like buying something, a program or coaching from them and just having a terrible experience, you're probably going to develop some kind of attitude about coaches, or you're going to be more careful the next time you decide to hire a coach. And that affects all the other coaches, right? No matter how honest and amazing they are, you're still having that past experience color your future expectations. And likewise with products, like I could go into plenty of examples, but here it is in a little nutshell. These sleight of hand tactics can be super tempting. They can be seductive, and we can kind of slide into them without even intending to, or go into them full-heartedly thinking it's okay because it's not like it's some kind of big criminal activity, right? And I'll give you an example in a second. So here's the thing though. You know, and your potential clients will feel it. And if they figure it out, whether they're still a potential client or if they figure it out once they purchase from you that something was just not quite right, then everything else going forward is going to be in doubt. And this is a spoiler alert about the example. I was planning on sharing it, and I'm going to try to keep this short. But when these little shady things happen, then I'm suspicious of everything, right? Including and especially any offers. If you'll kind of fudge the truth when you're selling to me, when you're presenting your offer, and you're doing something manipulative, trying to trick me or whatever, whether it's intentional or not, then I'm also going to go, what about your offer? Is your offer really everything that you're saying it is? I'm going to doubt that. I'm going to doubt that hard. And in today's fast moving economy, especially if you're trying to work online, you're going to lose people immediately because there's more people out there doing the same thing. They're going to go find someone who doesn't give them an ick factor. They're going to go find someone that they feel like they can actually trust because that person does what they say they're going to do in every way. They present the whole transparent, honest truth. And if you've been a little bit shady or hidden a little something or exaggerated a little something, they know, right? We all know. We can all tell that we still have that instinct, right? So that's why I'm bringing this up today, is because if you do have concerns about it, not to be worried because sales is actually super simple, right? Old as time. But it is important that when you're looking at new technology, new tactics, new tools, when you're choosing experts and mentors and teachers to help you implement new systems, things like that, to just always bring it back to your integrity, to what you want to actually uphold as a person, as a business, and within your offers. And it's just like structural integrity in a building. If a load-bearing beam has a defect, we want to fix it, right? We want to repair it, replace it, whatever it is, to make that building solid and not have the risk of it falling apart at some point in time. And maybe it won't fall apart right now just because that one beam, but in the future, over time, things are going to kind of decline. And we don't want that. We want things to get better and better over time. Yeah. So if you're with me, let me know on that. Always better and better. And so here's the positive part of the experience I had was that I saw an ad, and I don't usually notice ads. I think I've been really good at screening them out. I think all of us become really good as we're scrolling at light speed on Facebook that we kind of filter out the ads pretty quickly somehow. But this one caught my eye, and here's the favorite part of it. It was so simple. It wasn't a viral video. It didn't have bells and whistles. It was a simple background with text, and it said, I've gone from 0 to 700,000 followers in 5 months. let me tell you about my system, click below, right? And that wasn't really verbatim, but that was the gist of it was she was telling, here is this amazing thing I did. And if you want to know how I did it, sign up for my webinar. So I was intrigued. Not that I'm in the market for growing a huge following or anything, but it was so surprising to me. And it is something that I'm interested in learning about. So I signed up. So, really, the key here, though, is how simple it was. It probably caught my attention most, not because it was flashy and exciting, but because of what it said. It said something interesting to me. It said something that piqued my interest, right? And some people call this a hook. But here's the thing, if I wasn't interested in growing my following at all, like if I'm only on Facebook for friends and family and I want to stay anonymous and have a private thing, that ad's not going to get my attention, right? Likewise, a viral video is probably not going to get my attention. But this is the kind of thing that you have to think about within your business. And this is also kind of integrity, right? To make a statement like that, could she back it up? Now, I'll tell you, I failed in doing my due diligence. I did not go look her up to actually see how many followers she had or anything like that, which was my first mistake and part of why this probably went downhill for me. But nonetheless, the very positive part of it that I really want to put a strong emphasis on for you is that you can have complete integrity with everything you do. Sales can be easy, simple, it can be clunky and still be super effective. So don't feel like you do have to buy into all of these different tactics and tools. You can be super picky and you absolutely don't even have to use any of them at all. Okay, so there's my nutshell for you. And spoiler alert, right? This experience I had did go downhill, even though her ad was really good. Her emails were interesting. The lead up, the webinar was pretty good. It wasn't groundbreaking information for me. It's something that I've been looking at and knowing about with AI for a couple of years now, because that's actually what it turned out to be was that she has developed an AI system for her marketing and sales funnel. But after the webinar, she did one of these tactics that I'm familiar with that is one of these technicalities. And she also, along the way, created something really manipulative and false. So, in the moment that I got her follow-up email after the webinar, I was immediately out. I immediately went, oh, she lied to me from the moment I signed up. This was a lie. I'm done. And so you can let me know in the comments. I would love it if you let me know in the comments if you think I'm being too harsh about this when I'll tell you exactly what happened. But I do know that there's always kind of two sides to the story. Like, well, it wasn't really that big a deal, right? Some people wouldn't even think twice about it, maybe, and it wouldn't have affected anything. But I also know that I'm not a unique little unicorn over here. And if something makes me cringe, makes me back off, completely unsubscribe, no thank you, next, there's other people who feel the same way too. And so this is the cautionary part of the tale that I thought I would relate to you because I think it's something that any of us could actually really slide into easily. And maybe you have and have had an experience that you could share about it in the comments, whether maybe some of these tactics even work really well for you because there are people, your audience do just brush a lot of things off that it's not important to them for various reasons, right? So I'll explain to you what happened. So, long story short, when you sign up for a webinar, you get emails, right? And most people have kind of a nurturing sequence up until the actual event to keep you interested, to share some information, to help you understand what they're going to talk about and make sure that you actually show up. And most people want you to show up live to their webinars because that gives an additional value to it where you can actually ask questions live and you can really get an idea of what it is and you're actually dedicating attention to it. So I love that. Let me be clear. I love that. You want to show up live when you can, in my opinion, because that gives you, as a potential customer, a lot of ways to get all your questions answered, right? To be very clear and make the best decision you possibly can. And also, as the seller, to have people show up live so that you can have those conversations is priceless. It's just so valuable. So here's the thing though. In all her emails, multiple emails leading up to, including the reminder emails day of, and you know what I'm talking about when people send you the, it's going to be in 24 hours, it's going to be in 6 hours, it's going to be in 3 hours, it's going to be in 5 minutes, right? Like, however many times they send it, there's usually at least three or four, maybe more. They all said, you have to attend live. This is live only. I am not sending out a replay. Every single one of them, multiple times. No replay. I'm not sending out a replay. No replay. You must attend live. And listen, this was at noon on a Sunday. So I don't know about you, but my weekend time is like precious. And so I set aside the time. I told everyone I'm shutting the door. Don't come bother me. I've got this thing that I'm interested in learning about. And it was all great. The webinar was smart. Her offer was put together beautifully. I was interested. But then after the webinar, immediately, I mean, Zoom did not have enough time to process that 2 hour webinar for her to be able to send a link to the replay. And yet, here was the email in my inbox, her saying that her inbox was flooded with requests for the replay. So here it is, available for 24 hours only. And I was out immediately. She lied. She had told me no less than 50 times over the course of the week that if I didn't show up live, I was not going to get a replay. So I would miss out on all this information. And it was a promise or a threat, I don't know. But of course, logically, I thought, yeah, but she's still going to send a link to a sales page or something, right? There's going to be follow up of some sort. So even if I missed it, she's still trying to sell this thing. She also created this false sense of urgency around it and a false sense of exclusivity and an emotional pull of excitement because through all of her emails, she was making this feel like this is a new offer and she's rolling it out slowly to just really super interested people who will be really involved and she's going to be really involved personally. Like it felt very special and personal. And so I was actually getting excited to hear what she had to say in the webinar because it didn't feel like one of these typical evergreen things, like people who have digital courses or products and coaching and things like that who offer it regularly that they'll send it out to the masses. And of course, here's the thing, right? Everybody sends out a replay. This is just standard. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's been done for decades, yeah? And so for her to say, I am not going to send out a replay was very significant. And I believed her. And then there was the replay. And the kicker, what really backed me up in it was that it was so immediately after the webinar. It may have even hit my inbox before the webinar was actually over that I instantly knew that it wasn't actually a live webinar. All evidence pointed to that it was recorded, and these were automations that she had set up that maybe at some point it was a live webinar, but now it's an evergreen automated thing that she's running, right? And so here to circle it back to integrity was she didn't do what she said she was going to do. Or rather, she did what she said she wasn't going to do. And she said she wasn't going to do it so many times and so intensely that I believed her. And then the timing was also so suspect that I just couldn't believe it. Like at that point, I was like, she lied. She lied. Period. End of story. So tell me if I'm being too harsh. I think some people would be like, oh, it's so nice that she sent out a replay. And of course, she was going to send out a replay, even though she said she wasn't going to. I've my whole life have come up against situations where they're like, you believed that. You're so naive. And yeah, maybe I am naive. But if we're talking about integrity, if we're talking about doing what you say and say what you're going to do and follow through, then it doesn't matter whether I'm naive or not. I should be able to believe you. And it goes back to creating that trust factor and maintaining it because she built a level of trust with me through her nurture sequence, giving me information that was interesting to me and making me excited to join her webinar. But then it was all just down the toilet the moment that she broke that integrity with me. So does that make sense? And this is why I'm sharing this example. I'm trying to keep it short because I know some of the details don't really matter overall. What matters overall is that she used several tactics, which I'm familiar with. I have seen teachers teaching about this. I've read it in, current marketing books that around your offer, you want to create excitement. You want people to feel special, and you want to create urgency so that they're not hemming and hawing over it and trying to make a decision because that creates a whole bunch of confusion and kind of yucky feelings, right? So, yes, those kind of tactics are perfectly okay. Absolutely. If I'm selling something, I want you to be excited. I want it to feel special. And I want you to feel like you want it now. And you're not going to put it off because what if it's not there anymore in the future? Because most likely it could be, right? Like, I may not always offer the same thing over and over again, or it might change, right? There's always circumstances where things could change. And so I would probably bring that up, like, what if Zoom doesn't process the recording? So there might not be a replay, but I'm not going to purposefully bring up something unnecessary because that's the other thing too, right? It is not necessary, it wasn't necessary for her at least, to say whether or not a replay would be available. She could have left that out and just stressed, please show up live. It's important to show up live, offered an incentive to do so. Lots of people offer incentives, like if you come live and stay through the whole thing, you'll get this gift or bonus or discount or whatever. Love that. And also, let me be really, really clear on this. I love showing up live to webinars because, like I said, it's just such a great way to get real clarity, make sure you're making the best decision. And I love a replay. Yes, please. Not only is it a standard, but this is something where you're giving me another chance to review something I might have missed, clarify something that I may have been a little confused on, that I can kind of watch it again and figure it out, right? So perfect. So perfect. Love that. So nothing she did was really wrong per se. It was that break in integrity that broke my trust and made me think I couldn't trust anything she said about her offer then. Every benefit of her offer, any solution that it was supposed to achieve for me, I could no longer accept because she had already broken my trust and it just filtered through everything else, right? So this is two sides of the same coin. If someone trusts you, it also filters into everything else. If they've had a great experience with you, they're going to trust you going forward. Yeah. So I'm going to just go ahead and wrap it up right there because I think I've put it all out there in a great example about integrity, following through on what you say you're going to do. Whether people like it or not, they can trust that you are going to do what you're going to say you're going to do. And that is how you really create long-term growth in your business as well, because potential customers need to trust you to buy, and current customers need to trust you to keep moving forward with you. Yeah. So let me know your thoughts on this. I can't wait to hear your comments, whether you agree with me or if you're on the side of, that was no big deal. That wouldn't be a deal breaker for me. Let me know. Let me know if you've ever experienced this happening to you in your own business, where maybe you're applying a tactic that feels a little squishy or a little shady, but there's nothing technically wrong with it. So you move forward because maybe someone else used it and was super successful. So you're trying that in your own business. I would love to hear if you've had an experience around that as well. And I hope no matter what, this has been interesting, educational, maybe even a little entertaining. And I hope you have a beautiful week. Please let me know what you think, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.